Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to the Macro Large podcast. I am Chris Bold, and this is the lovely Rachel Mead. Excuse me. Good way to start. All right, before we do it,
describing me as lovely. That's what's choking.
I should have said the stunningly beautiful world champion Rachel Mead. That would have been more official. Anyway. All right, before we dive in, a quick heads up. In this episode, we're going to be talking about some mental health challenges, such as self-doubt and imposter syndrome. So if these topics are sensitive for you, please listen in a way that makes you feel safe and take breaks if you need to and come back when you're ready.
So, imposter syndrome, what is it, Chris?
Well, unfortunately, bodybuilding is pretty much a perfect breeding ground for imposter syndrome, if you let it. So it's kind of like, if you've ever felt you're just lucky to be on stage, or if you stepped off stage and thought, I didn't deserve that, you're not alone. And that's pretty much what we're here to talk about. We want to normalize the conversation a little bit about what imposter syndrome is, because you often hear people whispering about it backstage, or you hear particularly newbies talking about it, but they don't really talk about it in the open. And probably the best thing we can do about breaking down the stigma is to talk about it without sugarcoating it. So imposter syndrome is defined, if we want to be technical, as a psychological pattern where high achievers doubt their accomplishments and fear being exposed as a fraud.
I'm going to have to let you talk on most of this because I feel like a fraud.
Right, this is going to turn into a therapy session, ladies and gentlemen, for the lovely Rachel. So according to, which is actually a good thing, because according to the International Journal of Sports and Exercise Psychology, a study they did in around about 2020, female athletes actually experience higher rates of imposter feelings compared to male athletes. Something like, and it's not a little bit, it's something like 52 to 68% of female competitors in a physique sport have reported moderate to high levels of imposter syndrome, versus males. Still happens, but it's in the 25 to 35% range, which I think is quite fascinating, because being an aesthetic sport or a judge sport, these things are higher because there's a higher risk of perfectionism, self-comparison, which can fuel this whole imposter syndrome.
Definitely females are more likely to, I guess, want that perfection. I feel like females tend to be a lot more critical of themselves and making sure that everything is kind of, I guess, perfect.
Yeah.
And just feeling not good enough, because that's the main thing. It's just you don't feel good enough, which, definitely, I feel like it's definitely more common among females than it is around males.
Is it? Speaking,
or maybe it's
yourself,
just more spoken.
Yeah. Well, we know boys don't talk about anything of this stuff.
No, boys aren't allowed to talk about their feelings.
No, we don't talk about feelings. We don't have feelings. Do you find, though, is it not just not feeling good? Are you finding the comparison side as well? Is that something that you find that a lot of girls, in particular in the sport, struggle with? The
definitely.
devil in comparison.
Social media, I think, has a big part in that. I've always been very good myself at not doing that too much. I know when to stop looking at people, except for Natalia. Oh my God.
Somebody's got it. You get to actually meet Natalia for the first time tomorrow. That should be interesting.
I'm not coming.
Fair enough. But you're right, the social
See
comparison.
How you say it's fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Lies. Anyway, no, I feel like it's definitely more of a social media. I feel like guys don't really post so much on social media, as much as females. And females very much I must get have this photo to be perfect, and I must look good. Whereas guys are like, yeah, good pump, post it.
Look at that bicep vein. You're like, yeah.
Generalizations, guys. Obviously, there is exceptions to every rule, but generalizing. And then, a lot of females will tend to look at somebody else on social media and be like, yeah, they look way better than me. They're obviously better than me. So it definitely, I think social media plays a huge part in that. Even I myself do this sometimes, where I'll put a photo of myself next to someone else, so I can be like, how do we stack up next to each other? Don't do that.
Well, no, but it does happen. And it's, okay, social media, it exists. It's good and bad, and most of this data comes out of the States, obviously, but there was a study done that found that social comparison on social media actually linked to poorer self-esteem, particularly in athletes who spend a high amount of time on social media. So it's kind of understandable that happens. And being in a sport of bodybuilding, there is different, and this goes back to like what is imposter syndrome and what is, the devil's comparison. In bodybuilding, there's basically a couple of different types of comparison. So you've got the upward comparison, where you're comparing yourself to those that you perceive as being better, like Rachel was just mentioning. You look up and you think that person is better than me. Now, that can either inspire you or it can crush you. Comparing yourself to a current Olympia competitor, whilst it can be inspiring to say, I can get there, if you are somebody that's had the same level of training experience as that particular athlete, like you've been training the same amount of time, maybe you've even entered in shows with that person, oftentimes it can have the other effect where it can crush you, that you are feeling like an imposter. You are not feeling good enough because, well, that person's gone on to do this. Why haven't I? The other type of comparison is lateral comparison, where it's you're comparing yourself to somebody at the same level. And that's often supportive. It's subtle, but it can be supportive or competitive, like comparing yourself to a teammate, like when you're doing posing sessions together, when you're helping out. And this is probably something that you see a lot more in the gyms, I'd say, Rachel, would you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, yeah, someone who pops into my mind is Talia, not Natalia, but Talia. So we
Mm-hmm.
did our first show together. We're both in the tall class. We are very, very good friends. She's actually one of my closest friends. And I kind of do subtly like give her a little side eye. I'm like, how do I compare to her these days? So it can also be a positive, like it can also be a fun competition thing to do as well. But definitely like it does go multiple ways. So there's the I want to beat her because, yeah, I kind of want to beat Talia. I do. I'm sorry, Talia, but I do. But there's the other way of being like, oh no, I guess they're just better than me. So there is different ways to take it as well. So it can be kind of how you react to it can make a
Yeah.
difference.
And there's the other sort of final, if you like, the third type of comparison is called downward comparison. And this is something I struggle with when I see it. It's comparing yourself to those who are less experienced and talking down to them. And whilst it might boost your ego to a certain extent, it's certainly not going to boost theirs because, it's not your job to crush somebody else's dream. The other thing is you're comparing yourself down and boosting your ego and saying, I am so much better than this person. It can also breed complacency. So you need to be careful with that whole comparison. So, you know, you've got upward, lateral, and downward. Lateral is probably the healthiest and less imposter syndrome. But again, it can be a little bit competitive. Downward
Balance.
comparison, I think, is something that you should try to avoid. And in fact, if anything, rather than comparing down, compare yourself. If you're doing a downward comparison, is compare yourself to, say, last year, what you were earlier in your competitive career. I think that's a healthier way to go.
Honestly, that's kind of the way to do comparison is just to compare yourself against yourself. Because in bodybuilding, it's so subjective. Like whoever you beat on the day, you could switch positions like just the next week. It happens all
Yeah,
the time.
it can happen.
It's so subjective. It's not like, for example, when I was a swimmer, well, yeah, that person was 0.02 seconds faster than me.
Yeah,
It is what it
and that's
is.
factual. It is what it is, right? But in this sport, it's based on perception, and it doesn't just happen to amateur athletes. A couple of examples that come to mind in the physique, women's physique, Dana Lynn Bailey, she's an absolute legend. But like she said, you'll never win if you're always chasing someone else's highlight reel. So if you're looking on social media at somebody else who just got the right lighting and done all this sort of stuff, you're never going to be able to um, beat that person, right? Another 2022 Ms. Olympian, Natalia Colio, I always say her name wrong, and she was quoted in online just recently, said, if I compared myself to everyone else, I'd have quit years ago. You have to run your own race. So the comparison, good, bad, in between.
I mean, yeah, the only way to really do it is just get on stage and see what happens. Like, there's comparing yourself to other people, even when you are on stage, because sometimes the judges will disagree. You might have a couple of judges who think you should win and a couple of judges who thought the other person should win. So, like, it's really hard to kind of compare yourself to other people in a sport as subjective as bodybuilding is. You kind of just need to be like, okay, well, was I better than last year? And that's really the only way to have longevity in the sport.
It's also the only comparison you can healthily do is, was I better than last year? Because you can't control what anybody else does. And I think it raises a really important point is this industry, this sport, it fuels this stuff. It fuels this comparison, the insecurity, the imposter syndrome. You know, and if you're building your self-worth based on stage photos and Instagram likes and whatever else is doing, you're already standing on a shaky ground from a mental health perspective.
Bodybuilding is just such, yeah, it's a very, people struggle to, I guess, separate their personal feelings of the comparison with the, like, I guess, and not so personal feelings. I don't know how to describe that. So it's like people think just because that maybe someone has better delts than them, for example, that makes them a better person because they worked harder. That's not how it is. Maybe they've been doing the sport longer, or they have really, really good genetics. Like it has no effect on your self worth, and I think that's the biggest issue with it in bodybuilding is people connect the comparison of the physical aspect to their self worth.
It's a subjective sport. Subjective scoring means you can bring your best package and still not place where you expect. Every different federation has different ideals. They can change show to show. I mean, I've seen shows where, you've had a lineup of girls that look like A and you've got one girl who looks like B, and then they all say, oh, well, obviously leaning towards A look this year. And it's like, well, no, it's just A look was what was there. The judges can only judge what is in front of you, and that will change show to show. And that's the thing about subjective sport. And social media plays a role in this. I love all this geeky stuff. People knows I'm a data nerd. I love spreadsheets and I love reading reports and published papers and stuff like that. And I often throw little quotes out and Rachel goes, huh? But social media plays a role in this whole imposter syndrome, right? I love subscribe to the Journal of Sports Management, and what they did a study in, I think 2019, 2020, and it shows that athletes with higher social media use report greater anxiety around self-presentation. So things like highlight reels, they distort the process. No one's posting their off-season fluff or the fact that they failed on that 140 kilo hip thrust. They're posting the good stuff. They're posting the lighting. I mean, there's a gym up here in Auckland that their posing room has brilliant social media lighting. Don't compare yourself to that.
It is interesting though, because I have noticed a massive drop over the past couple of years of competitors posting their preps. So it is good because I think it kind of helps with not having that comparison so much, because I know especially the top athletes, they were getting compared to each other constantly. So it wasn't even just them doing it, it was other people then comparing each other. Like it's so hard to get away from that when it's not even you doing it. It's other people telling you how you stack up against other people. So people used to diary and document their entire prep. And now, like, a lot of people will just kind of prep silently. Like, that's what I've been doing the past 2 years because I can't bother with it.
Yeah, and it's like comparing yourself online to, again, not necessarily prep photos, but comparing yourself to stage photos of other athletes. Like right now, there's a lot of pro shows going on over the States, and we've been really lucky to have some New Zealand representatives over there. And just wanted to acknowledge Kate Carroll, who disqualified for the Olympia. Well done. Placed top 4 in several shows, really competitive. But if you're comparing yourself to those stage photos, you've got to remember one of my favorite female bodybuilders of all time, Linda Murray. You probably don't remember her, Rachel. She was probably stopped competing before you were born. But anyway, she's an 8-time Miss Olympia. And she just recently said on the Olympia TV podcast show that they do that the stage is one moment. Your worth is built in the years that you put in before that. So remember that, not that photo. Remember the work that they've put into it, which is different than the work that you've put into it.
Definitely. And it's crazy how much people will compare themselves to others. Like some of the common things that people do is usually downplay their achievements. I do this all the time.
Very common sign in competitors.
Oops. Yeah. I'm sorry, Chris. I can't really talk to that one because I do it all the time.
Well, I think that's the thing about imposter syndrome is it can be really loud and obvious, or it can be really quiet and insidious. It can be creeping in during prep, post-show, or even improvement season. So everybody's different, and there are signs, common signs amongst competitors. And as Rachel just said, downplaying it, downplaying your results. It's like, how many times do you hear me saying, Rachel's a 2024 world champion. Now, not everybody gets to be a world champion, but she's always like, there was only. I'm like, bitch, you beat everybody in the world. You got a really cool trophy. You went over there, you did it, and you owned it. That happens all the time. Another common sign of imposter syndrome is dismissing the praise that you get. It's like saying, they're just being nice, or, oh, they're just saying that because, they have to say that, or, oh, it's just, this, that, and the other thing. So,
I think it's something to do with also who you surround yourself with. If you are surrounding yourself with people who aren't going to give you false hype and you know that they will be honest with you, I think it's much easier not to worry about the dismissing praise. Generally, like I'll say like, yeah, look awesome. Like but I will give specific, like, your glutes are incredible. I will only give that if it's absolutely true. I will not just falsely be like, yeah, you're looking lean if you're not looking lean. So make sure you're also surrounding yourself with people who you know are actually going to be honest with you. And then if you trust them to do that, you don't actually have to worry about that as much. So that's a way to help with avoiding that.
It's who you surround yourself with, and again, what do you read in, especially with social media. If people put comments online, it's like you're either going to have good, bad, or indifferent, and if you read into them what you want. Another sign is constant progress pic comparison without the context. Rachel is guilty of doing this, to the point that I literally have to take pictures from the same time, put them together. I have to superimpose them on top of each other and draw on them and say, now listen, this is what I'm seeing. And she's like, but it was like I had my hips the wrong way. And what happened the other day, Rachel? You sent me one picture and said, I'm so far behind. And then you went, now hang on, if I pose properly, 5 minutes later I get this, ignore my previous message.
To be fair, I've done that one time.
Which just happened to be right before we recorded this podcast. So it was like, perfect.
Last night I trusted you to be honest with me.
That's true. Yeah,
I said, be completely honest with me. So there is that. I didn't trust myself not to be biased in doing those pictures myself.
No, you did well. You did well. But another common sign amongst competitors is you yourself, from an imposter syndrome perspective, is shifting the goalpost. So when you hit a goal, but you move the goalpost immediately, it's like, for example, say in prep you had a particular weight goal or body fat percentage goal, and you hit that within that time frame, and then you go, yeah, but I need to be leaner. It's like, yeah, but this was the goal. Own it. You haven't failed. This was the goal.
Celebrate the small wins. You've got to have your next goal, yes, but you also need to celebrate the wins. Like if you come off stage and you've just won gold and you're like, yeah, but now I need to get my pro card. There's like, you're not enjoying the process.
And it's like, it is a process. And once you've set goals, if your goal is a pro card, well, that can't be your first goal. There are very few people out there that can pull off that. So yeah, don't do it. No. But the other thing is like having conflicting ideals. And that's really, really common amongst female bodybuilders in particular. It's like saying things like, I'm too pretty for a muscle category, but I'm also too muscular to be feminine. And you hear that quite a lot. It's like, no, you're still feminine when you're muscular. It's like, don't set yourself up for failure by talking yourself up and talking yourself down in the same sentence. That's a really common sign amongst bodybuilders. And sometimes the person you're comparing yourself to is also comparing themselves to you.
I've had this.
That was aimed specifically at you, Rachel.
One of the ICN girls, Haley, I think I told her at one point, we had a conversation about it. I mentioned that my goal was her for that last year. I was like, I wanted to beat her because I knew she was the one to beat. And she was like, no, but I was doing that to you. I was aiming to be you. You were the one to beat. And I was like, what?
Yep, it happens. Well, see, that's one of the things about the whole imposter syndrome thing is being aware. So awareness is the first step. Once you know what the signs of imposter syndrome are, you can start shifting them. You don't have to focus on them so much. So it's really important to sort of do a self-check. Like, do you have imposter syndrome?
Yes.
You hear it thrown around a lot, but do you really? So there's an author called Jess Stewart. We'll put the link in the show notes as well. And she's a specialist in imposter syndrome. She has a free online quiz, plus a little mini course designed to help you identify and start overcoming it. I highly recommend that you give that a look. Again, helps you understand really is this something that you should be aware of and working on. A couple of strategies to beat this sort of thing, is name it out loud. The American Psychological Association basically has said if you talk about it, these imposter feelings, it reduces their power. And if one person speaks up, suddenly it's group therapy session. Then you're all going to be talking about it amongst yourself. So don't be silent about it. Talk about it. Own it.
Especially like when it's around people who also have similar kind of feelings. If you're talking about with other bodybuilders, they're going to understand as well. Most likely they're in the same boat. Because a lot of us go through similar kind of, I guess, areas of prep. Like everyone struggles, everyone is trying to be better. So a lot of people will understand what you're going through in the bodybuilding space. If you talk about it, someone not in the bodybuilding space, it's just might not be
We're
the
a
same.
special. We're a special
we're a
breed.
special breed.
But the thing about imposter syndrome is it hates light. The second you talk about it, you weaken it.
Bring it out.
Yeah. And talk about it, and track your own progress. Not about placings and the weight you did, but including your lifts, your posing videos, your mental health check-ins. Keep an eye on that. Keep tracking it. And if all you track is where you're placed, you're going to be disappointed most of the time because only one person can win. And sometimes you could have been in the best shape of your life and actually not place higher than you did previously. So track all the small things. The small victories will definitely make. If you're only tracking that placing, then you frequently are going to set yourself up for failure. Another thing to do is do a little social media audit. The Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology, when was it? Hang on, 2018. Yeah. What they basically said is unfollow, mute triggers. Fill your social media feed with education, inspiration, and reality posts that speak to you, not about the comparison ones. So curate your feed the way you create your body. Only what makes you look and feel better.
If you notice something is like making you feel negative, or if you notice that you see a post and you're like, oh, I could never look like that or something, just unfollow them or just block them from your feed. You can still follow people and just not have them show up in your feed. Yeah, just make your feed so that it's a healthy place to be and you're not constantly like, I suck, I suck, I suck.
I think that's probably one of the most important things we can do these days. Another thing is reframe your placings as feedback. Ask for constructive notes and take away what's useful. Your placings, they don't define you. They're like a weather report of what happened on that day. And we all know the weather guy can't tell you what was going to happen tomorrow. So just get the feedback. What did the judges see? And take that placing as a feedback, not as a result or a color of a medal. It's just information. It's not a verdict on your value as a human being.
It's not a personal attack. Like if you're not lean enough or not big enough, it's nothing personal. It's just, other people fit the criteria better on the day. That's all there is to it.
All there is to it. And you could do another show the same day, the same athletes, and have different judges and different result. That's the beauty of judging. It's subjective. It's also the curse of judging, by the way.
It will always change.
Yeah. So plan your mindset pre and post show. So pre-show, focus on the controllables. That's your training, your diet, your posing practice, your bikini selection, all of that sort of stuff. You can control that. Post, you can't control what everybody else is doing, right? That's outside of your world. You don't know what they're doing. You'll see posts and stuff, and but don't worry about that. And post-show, again, schedule activities and goals to avoid a crash. So remember, the show's not the end of it. That's just the end of that stage.
Yeah, it's very common. Post-show blues is the common term for it because you have that real high of being on stage. I guess sometimes it's a low because of some people might be comparing themselves. But yeah, it's like it's a lot of emotions going through you, and then so after the show is over, often it gets very, very hard to kind of keep up with all the emotions that you've just gone through because it's just suddenly now there's nothing. So yeah, have some small goals set so after the show for you to have something to keep going off.
That small goal doesn't necessarily mean eating the entire box of Dunkin' Donuts that you've been waiting for.
I mean, that is a goal. It is a goal.
It's a goal. It's not necessarily a constructive one, but it is a goal. The other thing is use targeted learnings. I talked a little bit about Jess Stewart's mini course. Again, use something like that to help you to understand things. So you take the quiz during your improvement season and then apply whatever you learn in that course framework. But then do it again during prep and then do it again post-show. And keep the comparison and self-doubt in check by sort of having those comparisons of like, how did I do on that imposter syndrome quiz then? What skills did I learn? What didn't I learn? Keep that self-doubt in check, because you're the only person who's doubting yourself. Hence it's called self-doubt.
I mean, yeah, it is hard not to doubt yourself, but definitely the more you dwell on it, the worse it gets. So if you are finding that you are doubting yourself, like, you don't have to feel like you're wrong for that necessarily, but try to avoid it. You can control your mindset to an extent. If you avoid negative thoughts, if you banish them as soon as you kind of realize you're having them, you're like, nope, not today.
Not today, Satan.
The meme. Yeah, it will help because you're not dwelling on it. The more negativity you think about, the more negative you're going to become. So just making sure that you do kind of think, negative thought, get out. Or like maybe think, okay, what's something positive I can think about myself? Like for each negative thought, okay, no, I need a positive one. And then actually consciously come up with a positive thought.
Yeah, I mean, as a coach, I mean, you've heard me say this even to you, Rachel, numerous times. How many times do you come back to me and go, this sucks? My job is not to go, you're right, it sucks. Fucking sort your shit out. It is literally like,
you have
okay,
said that
let's.
to me.
Well, that's you because you were being a drama queen. But normally I bully you a little bit because you asked for it. But generally, it's a case of finding out, okay, what are we going to do? What is causing this? What is the trigger? How do we work around that? And then moving forward. But the other thing is imposter syndrome. You got to normalize the experience, because even elite athletes and seasoned competitors, they face imposter syndrome too. It's not a sign of weakness, guys. It's just a sign that you care.
Yeah, it's just you wanting to improve. It's literally just your goal of improving. You see what you want to have and you see that you're not quite there yet. And that's all it is. But then you're taking it as, oh, well, I'm not good enough to be there. Well, no, you're just not there yet. It's nothing about not being good enough. It's just not yet.
Yeah. If you feel it, you're not broken. You're human.
I'm broken.
Dear help me. I wouldn't say broken. I would say maybe just like, there's a little clipped wing every now and again. And,
the glass is a bit cracked.
yeah. We'll go with that. But look, the thing about it's fine. It's called normal. It's just how it is. We just accept it. Okay, this is Rachel. We love her how she is. She's not. She's
it's not normal for everyone. It's my normal.
Exactly, and that's what we're comparing you to as your normal, not other people's normal. But anyway, so the other thing about imposter syndrome, awareness is the key. If you can spot the signs early, so you can shift your mindset before it derails your prep or your post-show recovery. As I said before, if you're feeling it, you're not broken, you're just human. Couple of things that you can do, some practical strategies to work on. Talk openly about curating your social media. As I tell people, that's what you're doing. Reframing your placings, using tools like Jess Stewart's mini course. Just small, consistent actions build resilience. Your best progress happens when you stop measuring against others and start measuring against yourself.
Definitely. So yeah, I mean, this is a sport of comparison. So just trying to adjust your mindset so that you can lessen that as much as possible. You're probably not going to ever get rid of it, because that's also partially what drives us to improve. But if you can lessen the negativity around it and use it as like a positive, well, I want to beat this person because they are better than me, so now I'm going to become better than them, then that's how you can kind of move forward. It's how you react to those feelings. But yeah, again, I go through this too. I've been competing for 5 years now, probably training for it for 6, and I'm still very much, I'm an imposter. I don't know why I'm here.
Well, that's the thing. Look, perspective matters. Your worth is not tied to a placing or a stage shot. It's the journey and the growth of the discipline that matters the most. And your stage day is just one chapter. It's not the whole story. So even
if you're feeling it, don't let it hold you back.
Day.
Don't let it hold you back. So it's okay to feel it. Just don't let it hold you back. Because, I mean, I'm on a podcast. What?
How'd that happen?
I'm telling people how to do stuff. I'm giving advice.
You're very wise. That's what we've decided.
I am.
Hopefully, we've given you some tools and some resources that you can use in regards to helping identify and address imposter syndrome. Because remember, none of us are imposters. We're just comparing ourselves against things that we shouldn't do. We invite you to share your thoughts and struggles with us on Instagram. Send us a message. We can't necessarily give you all of the tools and how to do it, but we can listen. And if we do know the right people, we were happy to point you in the right direction. So again, hopefully this wasn't too triggering to some people, but we know it was something that people wanted us to address. So hopefully we've done that. Again, follow us on social media, subscribe, like, share the stories and that with as many people as you can. We'll be back next Saturday. I know, Rachel, this was probably a little bit harder for you than it was for me. There was there's a lot of stuff that you had to share about yourself. Humor and medication. Thank you again, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next Saturday. Again, reach out if we can be of any help, and we thank you for humoring us for another 35 minutes. And we'll see you all next Saturday.
In your